Okay, so this time, no, we focus on introduction to derivative markets and securities. No? So, excuse, derivative markets and derivatives, no, play a central role, no, in modern finance, no, providing tools for risk management, speculation, and leveraging opportunities. So derivatives are financial contracts that derive their value from an underlying assets such as stocks, bonds, commodities, interest rate, or currencies. So these contracts are typically agreements to buy or sell the underlying asset at a future date for a specific price. So derivatives include a range of products like options, no, futures, forwards, and swaps, each with distinct characteristic and uses. So the derivatives, the derivative markets, no, facilitate the trading of this instrument, enabling participants to hedge against price fluctuation or gain exposure to the underlying asset without directly owning it. No? So one of the primary functions actually of derivatives is risk management, no? Particularly through hedging. No? For instance, a farmer may use a future contracts to lock in the price of a crop to protect against potential price declines, or an airline might use derivatives to stabilize fuel costs. So, using derivatives, businesses can effectively manage price risk associated with their core operations. So, this type of hedging is critical for companies in volatile industry as it helps stabilize cash flows and ensures predictable cost or revenue. So, speculation is another major use of derivatives, no? Because speculators use derivatives to profit from anticipated movements, no, in the price of an asset, often taking on significant risk in the hopes of large returns. Let's say, for example, no, an investor might buy a call option on a stock if they expect its price to increase, and potentially gaining from the stock's upward movement without purchasing it outright. While speculative activities increase market liquidity, they also introduce additional risk as the value of derivatives can fluctuate significantly, leading to gain or losses based on market conditions. And to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome our presenter. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Doc Abante, and good afternoon, colleagues. Today I will discuss the introduction to derivative markets in securities. Our learning agendas are first, we will learn what is derivative, what are the types of derivatives, the benefits of derivatives, and of course, there are also risks associated with derivatives. Now let's start with the definition. Derivatives are financial instruments that derive their value from an underlying asset, such as stocks, bonds, commodities, currencies, or indices. Derivatives are also contracts between two parties that specify conditions under which payments are to be made between the parties. So in simpler terms, derivative is like a bet or agreement between two people or two entities about a future price of something like stocks, commodities, or currencies. In this presentation pala, I included some videos in order to help us understand this topic easily. So the next slide is a video.
Let's assume John sells oranges to George, who produces orange juice. A regular sale would involve George simply buying 500 pounds of oranges at the current market price of, let's say, $1 per pound today. But what if George doesn't need those 500 pounds today and instead needs them next year, but wants to pay today's price? That's where derivatives come in, which are basically contracts. Maybe George will commit to buying 500 pounds of oranges at a certain date next year at an agreed upon price of $1 per pound. So, regardless of what happens to the price of oranges, George promises John he'll buy at today's price of $1 per pound. If the price of oranges doubles next year, George will be very happy. If it drops by 50%, John will be happier instead. This is just one example. Derivatives can be a lot more complex. George can perhaps pay John $100 for the right to choose whether or not he buys at $1 per pound next year. Maybe they'll work something else out through derivatives. These instruments aren't good or bad. They're just tools. You can call them contracts. You can even call them bets because each party is practically betting on a certain outcome. It all depends on how they're used. If used properly, they can make the world more efficient. If used recklessly, however, they can turn our financial system into a glorified casino and ultimately make it collapse.
Right. Thank you. So we will proceed with the next slide, and we will use the example in the video in the next slides then as like a concept. So there are different types of derivatives. We have first forwards. So forwards are customized contracts between two parties to buy or sell an asset at a predetermined price. So a forward is a type of contract or a type of financial derivative wherein two parties agree to buy or sell an asset at a future date for a price that is predetermined at the time of the agreement. So example, let's say you own a poultry farm and then you made an agreement with the nearby wet market sa inyo, and let's say they are part of the cooperative. So sa agreement, after 6 months, you need to deliver 3,000 chickens at a rate of 150 pesos each. Let's say 150 pesos each. But there's a specific terms on the contract wherein if the chicken didn't meet the minimum 3 kilogram requirement, then the price ng chicken should be lower. Like instead of 150 pesos, then gagawin na lang siyang 120 pesos each. So the maturity date, according to your contract, example lang, is 6 months from now. So kunyari November ngayon, then you need to deliver it in April of 2025. But the payment will be made 3 months after the delivery date. So here's the thing or catch sa forward derivative, just like the example earlier. First, there's no initial payment. So in forward contract, no money is exchanged at the time the contract is initiated. The settlement happens at the maturity date when the transaction is finalized. Dito, let's say after 6 months, na ibigay ni farmer lahat ng required number of chicken, which is 3,000. And then let's say each of them meets the criteria ng 3 kilograms minimum. So 150 pesos each. Si farmer, okay sa kanya if, for example, after 6 months, yung price ng chicken is nag-drop. Nag-drop sa market. For example, sa market, nag-drop siya sa 150. Panalo si farmer. Dahil nabenta niya yung chicken ng 150 pesos each, but nung binenta na siya sa market, is naging 140 pesos na lang siya. Matatalo doon yung cooperative o yung wet market. So that happens, let's say may oversupply ng chicken din sa other suppliers. So panalo si farmer doon. Now, panalo naman si cooperative, si co-op, if ever naman yung chicken na nabili nila ng 150 pesos is mabebenta nila ng 200 pesos or 250 pesos each. So doon naman sila panalo. Here sa forward contract or this type of derivative, meron tinatawag na counterparty risk. So since forward contracts are typically not traded on exchanges, there is a risk that one of the parties may default on the contract known as counterparty risk. Example, na-deliver na ni farmer lahat ng chicken, 3,000. Tapos ang usapan nila is that babayaran siya ng co-op after 3 months of the delivery. So yung counterparty risk doon, either i-abandon ni co-op yung contract, pwedeng nakuha na nila yung 3,000 chicken tapos hindi siya babayaran kasi walang advance payment dito eh. Wala rin down payment. Or pwede naman yung usapan nila na 3 months, hindi tinupad, umabot ng years. Let's say let's say 2 years bago nila naibigay. So, ang benefit naman ng forward contract is that it is customizable. Katulad ng kanina, yung mga terms and conditions nila na if hindi na-meet yung 3 kilogram minimum weight ng chicken is pwedeng i-drop ang price between from 150 pesos, gagawin siyang 120 pesos na lang. And usually, this is customizable to the terms because the terms are negotiated between the two parties, and then ang trading platform nito is traded privately. Now, let's move to the different type of derivatives. Ito ay future. Futures are standardized contracts traded on exchanges similar to forwards. So, dito sa definition is that futures are almost the same with the forwards. Contracts are made prior to the execution ng transactions. But the main difference between these two type of contracts, sa forward at saka sa future, is that futures are relatively standard. Like, meron silang standardization na sinusunod. So, meaning, yung futures are usually governed by different entities like Philippine Stock Exchange, SEC, yung Securities and Exchange Commissions, Philippine Commodity Exchange, and the contract should follow a standard. So one example, kung kanina ang example natin is poultry farm, ang example naman dito is crude oil. So since it's typically imported, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas may play a key role in regulating the financial institutions like currency markets and yung mga foreign exchange laws kailangan na na-observe dito since import naman ng mga crude oil dito sa Philippines. So another thing that so another entity that may control or govern the buy and sell ng crude oil is yung let's say anti-money laundering council, because local brokers are required to comply with the AMLAC provisions. And of course, regulated rin ito ng BIR due to taxation, and also yung PSE, by the way, does not usually handle commodities like yung crude oil. They don't directly handle it. But internationally speaking, meron pa rin nag-facilitate na stock exchange dito like Intercontinental Exchange. Okay. All right. So next type of derivative is yung options. Options are contracts giving the buyer the right but not the obligation to buy or sell an asset. Mayroong two types. Ito, options, merong tinatawag na call options, and then meron din tinatawag na put options. Now, we have a video presentation here so that we can understand, and then later on, I will provide an example. So ito muna yung first type ng option, which is yung call options.
Here we go. So Susie's selling her house for $500,000 in a neighborhood that has a nearby parcel of land that is for sale as well. There are two parties interested in the land. Peter plans to develop the land into a beautiful park and bird sanctuary. And Harry plans to build a low-cost housing development. Now, Sammy comes along and is interested in buying Susie's house for a cash deal. But he has a problem. He won't have the cash available for 3 months. So he's, of course, worried that the house will be sold to someone else in the meantime. So he decides to offer Susie $5,000, or the option premium, right now, if she'll take the house off the market and give him the option. This would be a call option to buy the house for $500,000, which is referred to as the strike price, anytime within the next 3 months, which is the expiration date. Now, if he does not elect to buy the house, Susie keeps the $5,000 premium and Sammy walks away from the deal. If he does elect to buy the house or exercise the option, Susie still gets to keep the $5,000 and he pays her $500,000 for the house. Now, 3 things could happen in this story. In scenario 1, Peter buys the nearby parcel of land. This, of course, will increase the value of Susie's home to, say, $600,000. in which case Sammy will be very happy to exercise his option to buy the house for $500,000. In scenario 2, Harry buys the nearby parcel of land. This, of course, will decrease the value of Susie's home to, say, $400,000, in which case Sammy will not exercise his option to buy at $500,000, and he'll just walk away from the deal having lost only $5,000. Then there's scenario 3, where neither party buys the nearby parcel of land. Susie's house is still worth $500,000, and Sammy can elect to exercise his option to buy the house for $500,000 or not and simply walk away from the deal, losing only $5,000. In effect, Sammy is controlling a $500,000 asset for 3 months for only $5,000. No matter what happens during that time, the most he can lose is $5,000. Susie, on the other hand, is happy to take the $5,000 as she had no guarantee anyone else would buy the house at her asking price, nor did she feel the nearby parcel of land would sell anytime soon. Here's a footnote to the story. Depending on the circumstances, if Susie felt she was likely to attract another buyer in the near term, she would have demanded more than $5,000 from Sammy to take the house off the market for 3 months. Likewise, with call options, the more the underlying asset is perceived to appreciate, the higher the premium demanded by the market for that call option.
So, a call option is a contract between two parties to exchange a stock at a strike price by a predetermined date. One party, the buyer of the call, has the right but not the obligation to buy the stock at the strike price by the future date, while the other party, the seller of the call, has the obligation to sell the stock to the buyer at the strike price if the buyer exercises the option. So, I have another example here para mas lalo natin siyang maintindihan. Now, this is in the investment perspective. We will use stocks. Let's say you want to buy a BDO stock and you were able to find a seller. Let's say the trading value per stock ng BDO is 500 pesos. Ito yung trading value niya, 500 pesos. And you believe that in the next 2 months, since December na next month, the value of the stock, tong BDO stock, will rise from 500 to 600 pesos. Yun ang forecast mo. Now, si seller, alam niya din na there is a high chance or possibility na yung stock ng BDO is mag-rise from 500 to 600. So, itong 500 peso na trading price niya na 500, ibebenta niya yan ng 550. And you both agreed that the seller will sell his stock at 550 pesos and you also agree that you will buy such stock at 550 pesos. Now, here, kailangan may tinatawag na premium or advance payment or like a reservation payment. So yung premium na ito ay gagamitin mo para you have the right to buy the stock in case na tumaas itong value niya. Now, after 2 months, let's say tumaas nga yung value niya at tama yung forecast mo. Yung 500 peso na trading price, ay umakyat siya ng 600. But then again, nabili mo nga siya ng 550. Of course, practically speaking, you will exercise your call option right, yung karapatan mo sa call option because nag-reserve ka ng 20 pesos per stock and then tumaas siya, so you have the right to buy it and the seller is obligated to sell it to you. So you will buy the 550 pesos na strike price and mayroon ka ng profit na 30 pesos per stock. Bakit 30 pesos lang? Bakit hindi siya 50? It's because yung 50, so the difference ng 600 and 550 is 50 pesos. Nagbayad ka kasi ng premium na 20 pesos per stock. So, 30 pesos lang yung profit mo, net profit. But here's the thing. What if the stock price didn't rise to 600 or let's say na-maintain lang tong 550? ang tendency niyan is you will, of course, not use your call option. You will abandon the contract. Ang loss mo doon is 30 pesos, 20 pesos na 20 pesos na premium sa kada stocks na binili mo. Let's say you wanted to buy 1,000 stocks, so lugi ka ng 20,000 pesos. Because hindi naman tumaas yung price from strike price na 550, hindi siya tumaas to 600 or in between. But let's say bumaba siya sa 550 and automatically hindi mo pa rin siya bibilhin. You will not still utilize your call options. Dito naman is malulugi ka ng 20 per stock. We have another type of options. Ito naman yung put options. And there's a video.
How put options work by revisiting Susie and Sammy from our earlier story. Sammy owns a truck worth $40,000. He's concerned that his truck might be damaged in an accident or even stolen. So Sammy decides to buy a zero deductible insurance policy or a put option on the truck for the full amount of $40,000, which would be the strike price, from Susie's auto insurance company. Susie charges him $1,500. That would be the option premium for a 1-year policy, 1 year being the expiration date. Now, 3 things could happen in this story. In the first scenario, Sammy's truck is not damaged or stolen during the year. So Susie keeps the $1,500 premium. Sammy's okay with losing the $1,500 for the protection it provided him for the year. In scenario 2, Sammy's truck is damaged in an accident, requiring $10,000 in repairs. He exercises his insurance policy or his put option by filing a claim, and Susie pays him $10,000 for the repairs as agreed. Sammy is happy he purchased protection for this possibility. In the third scenario, Sammy's truck is stolen. He exercises his insurance policy, which is his put option, and files a claim, but this time for the full replacement value of his truck. And Susie pays him the full amount of $40,000 to buy a new truck. Sammy, of course, is very happy he purchased protection for this possibility. In any case, Susie's happy because she sold many such insurance policies, different put options, to other drivers, most which never filed a claim or never exercised their options, providing her with a net profit overall. And here's a footnote to this story. If Sammy had a poor driving record, that's more a risk to Susie. So she would have charged him more than $1,500 for the 1-year insurance policy. On the other hand, if Sammy had an exemplary driving record, Susie could have charged him less, as the risk would be lower. Likewise, with put options, the higher the perceived risk, the higher the premium demanded by the market.
All right. So a put option is a contract between two parties to exchange a stock at a strike price by a predetermined date. One party, the buyer of the put, has the right but not an obligation to sell the stock at a strike price by the future date, while the other party, the seller of the put, has the obligation to buy the stock from the buyer at the strike price if the buyer exercises the option. Now, we will use another example, but this time around, imbis na call options yung gagamitin, put option naman yung gagamitin. So for the put option, we have put buyer and then put seller. Let's say you are the put buyer and you believe that the 500 pesos stock na to of BDO will be down to 400 pesos in the next 2 months. Let's say ito yung expiration date, 2 months, due to a forecasted financial crisis. So you will make an agreement with the put seller and he or she will sell you the put option for 20 pesos, yung rights. Yung tinatawag na option rights, yung rights mo to control the stock. So that's your reservation or your premium fee so that you will have the right to sell back the stocks later on. So let's say after 2 months or within 2 months lang in between, tama yung forecast mo that the stock price will be down from 500 pesos to 400 pesos nga. Then you will exercise your put option. Yung put option right mo. So this will allow you to sell the stock at 450 pesos even though alam mo naman or even though yung value talaga ng stock is 400 pesos na lang. This will give you a gross profit of 50 pesos and then less mo yung binayad mo in advance sa seller ng stock na 20 pesos. So ang iyong net profit sa changes na ito is 30 pesos per stock. The person who sold you the put, yung seller, would be obligated to buy you the 450 pesos na stock. So meron siyang talo na 30 pesos. But here's the catch. If the stock price naman never drops to 400 or below, sorry, never drops below 450 by the expiration date of 2 months or within 2 months, the put expires, yung contract nyo will expire, and then the put buyer, which is you, will technically lose 20 pesos per stock. But the put seller naman, on the other hand, will keep that 20 pesos per stock as his profit. So, yun naman ang sa may concept ng put. Now, another type of derivative is swaps. So, swaps are agreements to exchange cash flows based on different underlying assets. So, a swap is a financial derivative in which two parties agree to exchange cash flows or financial instruments, also known as swaps, over a specified period. These cash flows are typically based on different underlying assets, interest rates, and currencies. We have one example sa presentation ko is yung cross-currency swaps. So, cross-currency swaps involves the exchange of cash flows in different currencies. The parties agree to exchange principal and interest payments in one currency for principal and interest payments in another currency, typically over a multi-year period. So it's like more than 1 year. So itong example dito sa image is 2 years. Currency swaps are often used to hedge foreign exchange risk or to access financing in different currencies at favorable rates. So meron tayong example dito ng company. Si company A, let's say Louis Vuitton, meron siyang operations both in Europe and in the US. The same way sa company B, let's say Amazon, yung parang Lazada or Shopee nila sa USA, meron siyang operations sa United States, mayroon din siyang operations sa Europe. Now, si Louis Vuitton may borrow to their domestic bank ng currency na European, euros, yung kanyang currency. At ang kanyang interest rate is 1%. The same way, si Amazon naman can borrow to their domestic bank sa United States at an interest rate, let's say 2%. Now, bakit kailangan magkaroon ng swaps between the two? So, ito yung kanyang brief explanation. Let's say si Louis Vuitton, which is a European company, gusto niya mag-expand ng business sa Europe. And then, it does not have enough funds to expand. So, ang gagawin niya is mang-uutang siya sa domestic bank sa Europe with the euros currency. So, ang rate niya is 1%. Ngayon, nabanggit ko kanina, si Louis Vuitton, meron rin siyang operations sa United States. So, kung may operations sa United States and need niya mag-expand, kailangan niya ng fund. Yung fund niya kailangan in a form of US dollars kasi yun naman ang recognized currency dun sa United States. Ngayon, dalawang way para makapag-loan siya. Pag maglo-loan siya sa foreign loan market, 4% ang kanyang interest. Malaki. The same way dito kay American company, which is Amazon. Let's say gusto nyo mag-expand sa United States. Since domestically located naman ang Amazon sa United States, pwede siyang manghiram sa domestic bank. At ang interest rate is 2% in US dollars. But si Amazon, meron din siyang operation sa Europe. kailangan niya din mag-expand, but kulang siya ng funds. So, kailangan niya ng euros. Pwede siya manghiram sa foreign loan market. Kaso, ang twist dito is that 3% ang interest rate. So again, kung mapapansin nyo, kung itong si domestic company, mang-uutang siya sa domestic European bank, 1% lang ang interest. Pero pag itong si foreign company, uutang siya ng euros sa foreign loan market, 3% ang interest. So ito yung difference nila, 2%. The same way dito kay Louis Vuitton, which is a European company. Kung itong si Amazon can borrow a loan sa domestic bank ng 2% ang rate at US dollars ang kanyang currency, ito naman si European company pag manguutang dito sa foreign loan market is 4%. Ang difference is 2% higher siya. So ang gagawin, itong si European company A, which is Louis Vuitton, can cooperate with Amazon, yung company B. So ang gagawin na lang ni company B, maglo-loan siya ng US dollar sa domestic bank sa United States. Yun ang gagamitin ni European company para mag-expand sa United States. The same way, ito naman si European A, pwede siyang mag-loan pa more than what it should loan sa domestic bank ng Europe. So pwede itong gamitin ni Amazon para naman gamitin pag-expand sa business. So doon siya ginagamit itong currency swaps. Dito sa swaps na type ng derivatives, there are other examples pa or types ng swaps like interest rate swaps, commodity swaps, total return swaps. But for now, ito lang yung example na binigay ko, yung currency swap. Because this presentation is just an introduction to derivative markets and securities. Because sa mga susunod na reporters, kasi next presenters, they have like in-depth discussion ng mga types ng derivatives, so including swaps and types ng swaps. Now we have benefits of derivatives. So risk management, as mentioned by Doc Abante earlier. So sa risk management, investors use derivatives to hedge against various types of financial risks like yung fluctuations in commodities, yung interest rates, yung currency exchanges, yung stocks prices. Yung hedging, it can help minimize the potential of losses caused by this risk. Next is in speculation. Ito yung another benefit ng derivatives as mentioned by Doc as well earlier. So speculation allows investors to profit from price movements. Yung ano dito, it's like a bet. Yung meron kang bet sa the direction in which you believe yung price of underlying asset like stock, commodity, or currency will move. Pwede silang tumaas or bumaba. So yun ang isa sa mga benefit ng derivative is that you have the leverage to choose whether to invest ba, let's say, mag-invest ka ba sa call options or put options, something like that. And then efficient pricing. So reflecting market expectation and information. So this involves yung time value, yung volatility, and then yung low risk like low premiums na sa example natin kanina. And then we have risk associated with derivatives, counterparty risk, default by other party, just like the example earlier, the cooperative may terminate the contract kasi wala naman advance payment, they can default, they can evade the payment from the party kasi walang advance payment. And then we also have market risk like price fluctuations affecting derivative values. Like if for example, the market moves unfavorably, so it can significantly affect the value of the derivative, leading to financial losses. And then we have operational risks like errors or system failures, like incorrect pricing of the product or service, process breakdowns that may lead to financial losses due to market fluctuations. So as a summary, derivative markets and securities offer opportunities for risk management, speculation, and investment. However, they also pose significant risks. Understanding the characteristics, benefits, and risks of derivatives is essential for market participants. Regulatory frameworks aim to mitigate this risk and ensure market stability. And that's my presentation. And thank you for listening. Okay na po ako, Doc. Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you so much, no? Again, a while ago, no, I mentioned that speculation is another major use of derivatives in our presenter also mentioned, no? Leverage is another unique feature, no, of derivatives, no? Allowing investor to control large position with a relatively small amount of capital. No, for instance, in a futures contract, no, an investor only needs to provide a margin, no, a fraction of the contract's total value, no, enabling amplified returns or losses, no. And this leverage can boost profits, no, making derivatives appealing to traders looking to maximize returns. However, high average however, high leverage also increases the potential for substantial losses, no, making derivatives high risk instruments, especially for unprepared or inexperienced investors. No, yun po ang medyo challenging doon. And the structure of derivative markets includes both exchange traded derivatives and over the counter derivatives, no. Exchange traded derivatives like options and futures are standardized contracts traded on regulated exchanges which offer greater transparency and lower counterparty risk, no. In contrast, no, the over the counter, yung OTC na tinatawag derivatives, are customized contracts, no, traded, no, directly between parties often involving more complex products like swaps, no. And while over the counter markets offer flexibility in terms and structures, they carry higher counterparty risk due to the lack of central clearing. So in a nutshell, derivatives and derivative market are integral components of the financial ecosystem, offering tools for hedging, speculation, and leveraging. So they allow businesses and investors to manage risk more effectively, enhance market liquidity, and facilitate efficient price discovery. However, the complex nature of derivatives and the potential for high leverage also make them risk, no? Or make them risk-intensive instruments, requesting or requiring careful, of course, analysis and understanding by participants, no? So consequently, both regulation and financial education play a key roles in ensuring that derivative markets operate efficiently and safely within the global economy. Okay? Thank you.